Dear subscribers, welcome. I'm Nova, and you're on the Nova Briefcase channel. The dream of having superpowers is one that many people are obsessed with. Tons of surveys have asked people, what superpower would you want? Flying, like Superman and Captain Marvel? Or being invisible, like Doctor Strange and Invisible Woman? Maybe the ability to change shape and size, like Hulk, who gets bigger, or Ant-Man, who shrinks? Or perhaps immortality with cells that regenerate forever? Or how about super speed like Speed Demon and the Flash? Even though the idea of superpowers might seem childish, superhero movies and products always rake in the highest revenues. And this isn't just a recent trend. Humans have always been fascinated by this idea. Look at ancient civilizations. The concept of someone who appears human but possesses extraordinary powers has always captivated people. The Greeks had Heracles and Zeus, and the same goes for the pharaohs, the Mayans, and the ancient Chinese. They all had their own versions of superheroes. All these heroes in our movies, and throughout history, stem from our love for the savior figure. Dr. David Eagleman conducted a really cute experiment with babies, under 1 year old. He sat them in front of a puppet show where a duck tries to open a box, but a teddy bear comes along and blocks the box, bothering the duck. Another teddy bear, however, tries to help the duck and treats it kindly. Then he brought both teddy bears in front of the babies and let them choose between them. Almost all the children picked the teddy bear that helped. It's clear that we have an innate instinct that gravitates towards the one who helps. Scientists call this instinct in young children the justice instinct. We're born with it, and as we grow older, it becomes more complex within us. This might explain why we're so fascinated by superheroes and love these movies. I mean, at this rate, if you notice, we're even impressed by someone holding the door open for a woman to pass. And this is exactly what the creators of superhero stories have taken full advantage of and played with. But that's not all. When they realized the audience was amazed by the idea and loved it, but started to get a bit bored, they began to introduce a more human dimension to these heroes. Instead of Batman's parents' death being just a motivation for him to fight crime, they added a psychological layer. Make it something that deeply saddens him whenever he remembers it, bringing tears to his eyes. Make him an ordinary person with a weakness. Make Superman lose, get beaten badly in front of his girlfriend. Put Spider-Man in the friend zone. Create a human side for Superman. Create a human side for Batman. And then pit them against each other like Drake and Kendrick Lamar, Messi and Ronaldo, Peter Griffin and Homer Simpson. The more the hero is human and relatable to the viewer, the more it fulfills their desire to be a superhero themselves. Deep down, we all want to be superheroes. And that's why, according to statistics, Batman is the most popular and most beloved hero by viewers. Ask me why? Because he's like us. Even though we're not millionaires with companies like him, and we don't own amazing bikes and cars and other things like that, but on a human level, he's not a superhero with superpowers. He doesn't fly in the sky or shoot webs from his hands. He's just a normal guy, and that's why people love him more. But dear subscriber, while people's love for Batman might be logical, honestly, if you had superpowers, I'd be worried about you. Let me explain why. If you gain superpowers, they'll come with other problems that are physically hard to overcome. As a superhero, you need to consider this before you start fighting crime. For example, flying like Superman. If you somehow manage to escape gravity despite your mass, float in the air and fly, Newton's third law says, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. When you run, you push the ground with your feet, and the ground pushes you forward in return. Flying should theoretically be like swimming. When we swim, we push the water and it pushes us forward. Our speed in water is slow because water molecules are spread out, unlike solid ground, and it requires more energy to move through it. So imagine air molecules, which are even more spread out. There's no resistance, nothing to push against to propel you forward. So either you won't move at all, or, as scientists say, if you weigh around 154 pounds, you'd need wings that are about 22 feet long. Now imagine you want to land to save your crush from a gang in an alley. How will you land with those huge wings? You'll be stuck hovering in the air, and even if you try to land sideways, you'll crash into lampposts, cars, and trees. But hey, maybe you'd save the girl anyway. because she might be able to escape while the gang is busy laughing at you and filming the hilarious scene. Now that you know all this, you've probably changed your mind and said, no, I don't want to fly. I don't want to become a meme. I want to be invisible. It seems like a pretty cool superpower. You could become a spy for the CIA and save your country, change your exam grades, spy on your crush in the bathroom, maybe even take money from banks. But, my dear subscriber, this power also comes with some physical problems. First, no one will be able to see you. You might say, of course, that's the whole point. I want to be invisible so others can't see me like John Cena, you know? But keep in mind that this also means you could get hit by a car or stepped on by people. You might say, no problem, I'll be careful, I can handle that as long as I'm invisible. But, my dear subscriber, if you're invisible and light passes through you without hitting you, that also means it will pass through your retinas, so you'll be practically blind. In other words, no one will see you and you won't see anyone either. We see because light hits our retinas, but in your case, the light just passes through you, meaning you won't see anything. Second, you'd have to be naked. Third, you can't be out in the rain because people will notice a slightly dry spot where the rain is passing around you. They'll wonder, what is this creature? Fourth, you'd also have to stay completely silent, or you'll be exposed. Imagine having all this superpower only to get busted because of a sneeze. Alright, no need for flying or invisibility. I want to be like Hulk, change my size and become huge. Okay, let's discuss this one. Let's say you weigh 154 pounds, and your size starts to increase. According to the law of conservation of mass, your mass will stay the same. Your size increases, but your weight remains 154 pounds. So, you'll be as big as Hulk, but still only weigh 154 pounds. Your density will decrease. You'll be like Hulk, but so light that the air might blow you away like a balloon. You might ask to increase your density so that when you start growing in 3 dimensions, your mass will be reasonable. In that case, your weight should be around 4,000 pounds. Do you know what 4,000 pounds means? That's about the weight of a car. Your legs won't be able to support that weight. Your leg bones would break. And even if you could handle it, to maintain that density and all that weight, you'd need to eat for 12 hours a day. The same goes for Ant-Man. If you shrink down by reducing the space between molecules to become the size of an ant, your mass stays the same. On such a tiny surface area, the pressure increases and would pierce through anything you stand on. You'd be like a tiny black hole. It wouldn't be that easy to stand on someone's shoulder. And moving away from dreams and far-fetched fantasies that are physically impossible, and driven by government's desire to enhance humanity, some labs have been working on applying modern techniques and exploiting biological behavior to create extraordinary abilities in humans, especially since genetic differences sometimes lead to unique traits in certain individuals. Scientists in 2008 discovered that a variation in the ACTN3 gene, let's call it the speed gene, is what happened with Usain Bolt. This gene stimulates the production of a protein that controls the growth of cells and muscle fibers in a way that accelerates the contraction and relaxation of muscles. That's awesome. After discovering the speed gene, is it the only gene whose function has been identified? No, dear subscriber, there's another one. A gene that makes people we call short sleepers able to get 8 hours of sleep in just 4 hours. For example, someone like Batman fights crime at night. How? When does he sleep, and yet we often see Bruce Wayne during the day? And there are many other genes like LRP5, which is linked to bone density syndromes. Some mutations in this gene create almost unbreakable bones. There are other mutations too, like those that grant immunity against certain diseases, lower cholesterol, or even attract objects to the body. Magnetism. Imagine you're walking with us and suddenly your head sticks to a signpost on the sidewalk. What's that? That's magnetism, dear subscriber, so don't worry. It's not that serious. All these were biological attempts that might have some issues. Are there other ways? Of course there are other ways. Why would I ask this question if I didn't have the answer? The scientist Norbert Wiener has a book from the 1940s titled Cybernetics. It started a whole new field of study, and its applications have spread over the years. Now, scientists aim to implant an RFID chip in every person, which would distinguish them like a fingerprint. This chip could eliminate the need to carry your ID or even your keys. You could simply scan it to make purchases. This might be concerning for some, but it could also have benefits. For example, some doctors already use a device like a pacemaker, which regulates heartbeats, and they implant it in patients who have issues with their natural pacemaker. And every day, this device is being developed and improved based on individual cases. So, when scientists saw something like this, they thought, since we can implant a specific device in the human body that performs this vital function, why not take it to a higher level? Why not implant chips in our bodies that allow us to control other vital functions, see invisible rays, or even communicate thoughts between you and a computer, like the Neuralink project founded by Elon Musk? Or perhaps we could have super strength. In 2006, scientists at the University of Texas managed to develop artificial muscles that are 100 times stronger than our regular muscles. And that's not all. The exoskeleton technology, which began in 1890 to help patients with osteoporosis walk and move, like we saw in the movie Forrest Gump, has continued to evolve. The US Army even launched what's called the Future Soldier, a flexible, protective suit that facilitates movement without fatigue and allows the carrying of heavy loads. It comes with multiple options, weapons, and gadgets similar to what we see with Iron Man. And it wasn't just the US military. Hitler was also obsessed with the concept of super soldiers. They also gave drugs to soldiers that provided them with extra energy. Using performance-enhancing drugs in sports is banned because it is considered cheating and gives those who take them more power and an unfair advantage over regular athletes. In conclusion, all of these suggestions and solutions may have flaws. Genetic modification might have side effects, and cybernetics could be costly, and we don't always know how to control it perfectly or edit all the abilities. But why are we trying to move away from our humanity? Why do we compare ourselves to animal traits and tamper with biological and engineering methods to compensate for our shortcomings? Aren't we already enough? The justice instinct can be satisfied with human qualities. We've seen many examples of real-life superheroes, heroes and heroines who distribute food and blankets to the homeless, rescue street animals, and perform other acts of charity, inspiring others to do good deeds. And in my opinion, that's a super idea. You already have all these qualities within you. You don't need superpowers, a cape, or a mask to bring about justice, help people, or save them. And subscribe to their channel. Hit the like button and leave a comment. And I hope, dear subscriber, that if one day you get bitten by some bug or something and gain superpowers, you make sure not to turn into a supervillain. I'm flying away now. See you when I return for the next mission.